HR tech, work tech, and investment are transforming the future of work. Are you in the know? Welcome to the Work Tech Podcast. Join host George LaRocque for expert insights on the trends, M&A activity, and strategies shaping the workplace. Brought to you by oneworktech.com and the Work Defined Podcast Network.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Work Tech. It's me, George LaRocque, and I'm excited to have a conversation that in some ways we've all been having. There was a big deal that was announced in this last quarter about Workday acquiring Paradox, and we've all been talking about it, but I've been dying to talk to Adam Godson, CEO of Paradox, about it, and he's here as our guest. This is a thrill. Hey, Adam, welcome.
George, good to see you again. I've been excited to talk to you as well. So thanks for having me on.
Great. Well, I think anybody in our space knows Paradox, probably knows you or knows who you are, but I think a lot of folks are always looking at this space for the first time. And let's just start with an intro of you. If you could just, introduce yourself and Paradox. I'm still going to talk to you like it's Paradox and not Workday, and we'll transition.
Yeah, it's Paradox. I'm wearing the Paradox shirt. Here we go. We're in.
Okay.
We're in.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. Again, thanks for having me. I'm Adam. I'm the CEO of Paradox. I've been in talent acquisition for my entire career. Started as a recruiter. I grew up building talent acquisition technology, doing all the jobs, implementation and product and consulting. It's the problem I've chosen to solve, and it's one I cared deeply about. And I ran product and engineering at Paradox, joined in the second year, and then became CEO 2 years ago. And Paradox is conversational AI for recruiting, and using different technology. And we started in 2016 when you had to squint a little to see AI in it, but it is transforming the way that hiring work gets done. And the paradox is that you use AI to spend more time with people and less time with software.
Okay. I don't think I've ever heard it explained as the paradox is, and I like that. I like.
Yeah, you have to buy software or to spend less time with software and to build human connection. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it certainly has worked.
I like that. So I want to jump into the deal and the market landscape and all of that, but before we do that, with this deal happening, let's make sure we spend a little bit of time on the origin story. And you've given us what it is. Tell us about, how it came about and some of the milestones maybe that led us to this point.
Yeah, I think, you of course, George, know our founder, Aaron Matus, and Paradox really started in what you call the chatbot era. And it was taking a new technology and applying it to the business problem of talent acquisition, and had its fits and starts of finding the right problem, as all startups do, and sort of finding product market fit. And there were a few companies at the time that kind of had the same light bulb moment. You remember Maya and Alio and companies like that. And, we were able to break through, I think, because of our expertise in talent acquisition, being a team of practitioners, Aaron also a former practitioner, that deeply understood the space. And if you believe the technology could get a couple of orders of magnitude better, and it has, then you could see how conversational AI could really change talent acquisition, taking some of the mundane things out of it. We've called it the BS, the boring stuff out of that. Things like scheduling interviews, screening candidates, asking for availability from hiring managers, sort of these like quick snippety conversations that automated chat is actually really good for, and being able to clear a lot of those things out to focus on the most important conversations and the decisions.
Yeah. You said a couple of things there that really struck me that I wasn't thinking about. And the first is, coming from the world of practitioners. I think having that, domain expertise is really key. I mean, I know, the company grew and you've brought in some eyes from outside the market as well. It's always good to have a fresh perspective, but really understanding the customer, understanding the journey we've been on, and sort of, different approaches to try to solve these problems, what's worked, what hasn't, and why, because a lot of the calculus you might use on a B2B software or B2C software in another market doesn't translate when you've got candidates, not employees, and buyer is fueling a process that is actually, engaging, but not selling something. It's a very unique set of solutions that you need to provide. And The other thing you said when you talked about the other companies, I've had this thought before about Paradox. You remained in the market while those other companies, you said, they had a similar idea. They were
Yeah.
taken off the table. They were acquired really early,
Yeah.
but they were the kind of acquisitions for good or for worse. I mean, there could be capabilities somewhere fueling someone else's product. I don't know, but
Yeah.
they're not here anymore. You really had an opportunity to not only bring that technology, magnitudes forward along with the tech itself, but really do it in an environment where, you were sort of the game in town. And a lot of this is use cases, experimentation, and improvement. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like a perfect scenario for a couple of years, and then it got competitive for you again. Does that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely right. It was finding the right places to do that. And I think we've we've had to make some big decisions this year. And it comes back to like, what is the point of a company? Like, why do you do this? And of course, there's investors and there's return and there's different things, but like, why do you do it? And for us, it was really important to make a difference, make a dent in the universe, and actually solve the things with candidates and reduce friction, help people get jobs. We think that's really meaningful work. And so when it came, that's the reason we wanted to go long. And actually, the reason we also thought that Workday was the right partner is it gives us the scale to
Mm.
make a difference. We'll schedule 32 million interviews this year. It's about 1 in every 10 interviews that get scheduled in this country. And we do it in a way that takes less than, it takes less than 2 minutes to schedule an interview
Wow.
versus almost an entire day without it. And so being able to make that difference, shorten that time to fill, take time to hire from sometimes 2 or 3 weeks to 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 hours, we find great meaning in that work. And for us, that was the reason we wanted to go long in the first chapter. And that's a lot of the reason we want to join Workday too.
Yeah. It sort of comes full circle with having that mission and that purpose and being from the space, knowing there was still, work to do, and I know it was you and it was Aaron and it was the whole team, there's a team
Sure.
here.
Huge.
But it's, knowing, having the insight that this can still get better and
Yeah.
let's not exit too soon. Let's keep, we've got room in this market, and obviously it worked out all for the best. So what let's talk a little bit about your space and how that aligns with Workday's
Sure.
customer base. So
Yeah.
your ideal customer profile, what that has looked
Yeah.
like, and how that you're starting to get into the alignment with Workday a little bit around the customers.
Yeah. It was interesting. So, this summer, Carl Eschenbach, the CEO of Workday, called, and it wasn't the first time we'd ever talked, but he made a direct ask that was, would you be consider this? And so we got to think deeply about what that could look like. And a few things were really important to us in that. And one of those was, I mentioned making a difference. And we thought that to make a difference, we had to be able to serve the whole market. That was really key for us to be that Carl and Workday are deeply aligned there. Or there was a time where Workday really was a platform that focused on HCM, and you had to have HCM to do anything else. And it was always the sun in the solar system, and then they built their own planets. And now with the acquisition of Paradox, HiredScore, Sana, and others, Workday is going to grow also being a planet in some ecosystems. And so it's important that we're going to continue to serve clients that are on SAP and on Oracle and on other solutions. And we're going to continue to serve the whole market. We're going to continue to have our conversational ATS that is a standalone solution that serves lots of franchise organizations and restaurants and retailers. And so being able to do that was really important. The other part of that then is the scale of Workday and the incredible global reach and the way that we think they can make us better, from a better company, from a talent perspective, from a security perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, and being sure that we can scale globally and continue to make a big dent in the universe. And so we looked at it every way you can look at it. I can tell you that. Lots of late nights and lots of thinking about it, and ultimately thought it wasn't just a deal that we should do, but that we had to do, and that it was going to be the one that could change the way that talent acquisition operates, full stop, and that the way that companies hire can really change based on what the vision is to build at Workday.
Is there when I think about your use cases, I mean, I think about, like a Chipotle, being out there, to the fact that CEO on I don't know the CEO of
Yeah, Mad
Chipotle's
Money.
name, but on
Yeah,
an
Scott.
earnings
Yes.
call, talked
Yeah,
about their recruiting technology,
that's right.
unprompted, unscripted. I mean, you couldn't ask a CEO of Chipotle to do that
You
for you.
can't
They
buy
have,
that. No.
yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
That says something about the kind of environment that you're operating in. And I know that McDonald's is another customer that,
Yeah.
these are big brands, big companies. Is that the kind of alignment in those, large frontline sort of high volume environments,
Yeah.
or was there
Yeah.
other ways to look at this? Are there other ways to look at this?
So yeah, yes to both. Really, is that the center of the target is frontline workers, and that's certainly one of the key hypotheses from Workday from an investment perspective. Is we found great product market fit with the frontline worker, and it's not a secret that that's been overlooked for many years from a technology perspective. People in corporate offices invented things and just didn't really think about some of the hard problems to solve, that when people don't have an email address and they don't have certain types of devices, and so that's certainly a huge part of it, and be able to see the changes we've made in organizations about how they hire, the speed with which they hire, the staffing levels that they can produce. I think one of my favorite messages of all time was from a hiring manager, um, that said, "I like my job again because I'm fully staffed."
That's
And
great.
it just sticks with me because if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know that it's a hard job, and it's really hard when you're understaffed and people call in sick, those types of things. And to be able to create that net good in the world about someone that likes their job again because of software that we made is pretty awesome. There's a huge alignment between Workday's strategy as well to do more for the frontline worker beyond recruiting as well. And so we both know that there's a huge interaction cycle between all the things that you do from onboarding and employee communication, scheduling, rewards recognition, like those things all matter in the life cycle. And so it's not just, can you help me with the front door, but can you help me retain my employees as well? And so we've done some substantial work in the last few years, mostly in the restaurant retail space around that as well. That's going to be really complementary with Workday's vision around the frontline worker too.
Yeah, I can remember meeting with you and the team and getting briefed on some of the vision of this was in the
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 years before this was on the table, and it was extending post
Yeah.
hire, and getting into some areas. There's such a connection between what in that environment you might consider like workforce management and the sort of
Right.
data that it can bring back to the front end and the sync. It's all about the shift, right? Like, do we,
Yeah.
do we have enough people for the shift, and how
That's
much
right.
time do we have to get the shift filled? Are we, trading schedules, or are we bringing someone in new? The depth of capabilities that Workday has, and I'm sure they have some things on their roadmap too, can really see this coming to fruition much more rapidly. So you also mentioned being able to operate in other ecosystems. So that
Yeah.
suggests that maybe you're not being, while you're full stop part of Workday,
Yeah.
the Paradox platform will exist in a way, the Paradox agents will exist in a way that are interoperability with these other
That's right.
platforms. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and we've had that strategy from the beginning about integrating with others and being a part of the ecosystem. And it's really important to us to solve the problem. Occasionally, like a customer will ask something like, "Oh, will you integrate with this tool? Do you like that company?" I'm like, "I don't care what I like. Do you need this? Does it solve a problem?"
Right.
And so I think having that mindset is really important for us. And we've got fantastic clients that use other systems in a variety of systems, and we will continue to serve that. We've got new clients we're bringing on those systems as well. And we think there's a huge future ahead to continue to do that and to continue to serve the entire market.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned the clients, so that's exactly where I want to go next. What can Paradox clients and Workday clients expect at this point, or let's say for the next couple of quarters here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one of those is that we're still fully us, and we're going to continue to innovate. A lot of people have asked, lots of things around like what's going to change, and in many ways, we just had our client event, and it was really warm, and it was really great to hear everyone and what they're seeing and feeling. And for us, we're continuing to innovate. We're going to continue to build quickly. I think on the Workday client side, it's a lot about making it a seamless experience. It's about taking advantage of this foundation of Workday and what exists at Workday and this infinite scalability that exists in that platform. It's about taking advantage of HiredScore and the intelligence that exists. They're amusingly our oldest partner, and we think about back in 2017 working on projects with HiredScore and some of the special integrations we've had with them over the years. And so I'm really excited to continue to deepen that. We've always found it to be really complementary, sort of this AI-driven intelligence combined with Paradox's conversational AI to be able to do really impactful things in talent acquisition workflows. And so the interoperability there. And then as we think about the entire ecosystem, continuing to build new product and find new uses of talent acquisition. And so getting deeper into the funnel, getting more into some of the pain points, pushing harder with our clients on the areas that they find challenging. And I think that's one of the things that I would say people ask occasionally, like, what's been special about Paradox? I think that client collaboration and our listening and cooperation. Yes, we're practitioners and we come from the industry, but we don't know it all. And so being able to collaborate with people to co-innovate and then to test those things in the only lab that matters, which is the real world, and see how they work and continue to improve upon them. So you can expect a lot more of that and continuing to push the envelope and push new technology to the market.
Yeah. So for a Paradox customer who, let's say, isn't part of the Workday ecosystem, it's, the roadmap is still there, the innovation,
Absolutely.
The direction, the sort of standalone type of features that you're providing integrated with other ecosystems, still the same. I think one of the big messages I caught from what Workday has put out and what I've seen is that formally I'm reading it, the Paradox Candidate Experience Agent is now available for both new and existing customers of Workday. And that sort of speaks to, obviously, being part of Workday, your ability to integrate into that platform, almost being an extension of that platform makes the opportunity for existing and new customers very easy to integrate, implement, etc. Am I interpreting that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are parts of the Workday recruiting platform that I think maybe didn't serve the entire market well. So was not particularly good at frontline worker. We had over 200 clients together before the acquisition. And so got to, wear that really well and have those integrations be deep, but there was clearly an unmet need there. And so as you think about, especially that distributed frontline worker, people that work in stores, restaurants, places where there's lots of locations, is something that our architecture serves incredibly well. And so we expect Workday to win more deals in recruiting because we can serve a broader population. And we expect some clients that are on the platform today to look at the efficiency of Paradox for a variety of things, whether that's frontline worker, scheduling the most complex interviews, candidate experience, and continuing to improve in lots of ways.
Yeah. And you mentioned HiredScore, and that's really interesting to me. For those that might not be as, we've talked about Paradox, we know Workday.
Yeah.
HiredScore is really been focused on matching, and that's where the score comes from. Am I oversimplifying it, or?
Simple is good. So yes.
Okay. And so then I'm thinking, when I would think of HiredScore classically, I would think of more knowledge work, to just the term that the market uses. And I'm thinking about, your ICP and frontline and high volume, but now, having conversations and having a better candidate experience and getting closure on my hiring process and being better matched to jobs and, in both directions. So that's a good thing, whether I'm a, engineer or working on the front line somewhere. So I don't want to, read too much into the roadmap here, and you can punt this if you have to.
You're doing a pretty job reading the roadmap, George.
So thinking about, I had just recently I was writing about how company investors, strategic platforms like Workday are investing in foundational AI. So AI
Yeah.
that they can use across a category. So would Paradox start to look like a foundational hiring AI that and product that would be used, whether it's frontline or knowledge work? That experience would be different.
Yeah.
But really the foundational technology that you're leveraging might not be.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see technology from several of the places start to intermingle in ways that's useful. So
Okay.
a couple of examples would be when you come to a career site to search for a job, almost every company has knowledge workers and some sort of frontline
Right.
worker population. Big companies have them, small companies, and being able to have the experience that is. If you're a frontline worker, we'll ask you some questions. Are you 18? Can you work these hours? Can you lift this box? Those kinds of things. And if you're a knowledge worker, upload a resume, and maybe it's HiredScore that powers that, and we can recommend the right jobs for either one of those populations. But you don't know, that doesn't say now you're going to HiredScore. It just be integrating that well. And then on the recruiter side, HiredScore's matching product historically was called Fetch, and you open a job, it gives you some matches from your existing database,
Yep.
and now being able to send them a text and say, "Hey, are you interested in a job?" and have a conversation, and the outcome is great. Schedule 15 minutes to talk to a recruiter. And so again, both those things working together to just accomplish something, you're going to see a lot more of that.
And I mean, you skim over scheduling, but that's a huge part of the solution. And it's
Huge.
a part of Paradox that I've heard customers wax poetic about, even recently, about just the, scheduling. So the scheduling part of the solution is just, so valuable to them. So that's a big part of this.
Yeah, it's a hard problem, and you still see companies with whole rooms full of coordinators that are manually doing this, and it's slow and clunky,
Yeah.
and there's lots of reasons for it. But I helped build my first interview scheduling in 2011, and so it's been a long time to get that right. And the technologies have gotten much better. We used to have to do lots of gymnastics around time zones and other things. But 32 million interviews this year, and that's the most complex stuff. Multilingual, being able to converse in all the languages, adjust all the time zones, room bookings, calendar, being able to ask through Teams or Slack, "Hey, can you move this meeting so I can get an invite in here on this panel?" It's just the right tool for the job,
Yeah.
and it seems tantalizingly easy to solve about 80% of it, but I can tell you that solving to the 99 point something percent takes a lot of work, and
Yeah.
you get to do that by doing it lots of times and learning a few things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I over the years, there have been so many entrepreneurs who think, why isn't this problem solved? They come in and learn really quickly. The complexity in this is always underestimated. To
The
say
water's
that
deeper
that's
than it looks.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it, like a lot of cars abandoned on the highway of innovation, right? Like it's
Yes, that's
it's
right. That is right. That is right.
all right. So all right, we have talked about the roadmap a little bit, but I'm just curious what, let me make sure I ask the question about, vision and strategy. Where do
Yeah.
you see this going? I mean, you've touched on it a little bit here just now, but
Yeah. I think for much of my career and probably yours, like you had this choice whether you wanted the connected system and fewer features, or if you wanted to go best in breed, get more features, but have integrations and maintain them forever. And I think we're at the point now with what I'll frame as the agentic era going forward of
Mhm.
this, is you can actually have both. And that the solution is having this connected architecture with the rest of your platform. And certainly the platforms, Workday, SAP, Oracle, et cetera, would help establish that. But you don't have to have all the features in that system. You have to have the ways to accomplish things. The structures have to be right. But then it's about agents running on top of that. And it's different types of agents and agentic structures. Some of those, like HiredScore, are going to be more around intelligence and being able to understand a problem deeply using machine learning. Others are going to be more conversational as an interface, like Paradox, and being able to extend through WhatsApp and texting and messaging networks, those kinds of things. But those are the right tools for the job. So now it is just getting the workflows established and the ways of working. And we've done lots of that with our 200 plus mutual clients, but it is being able to have maximize the use of that data foundation and the workflow. And then what are we doing with agents to make sure that it's the right candidate experience? And that'll continue to develop. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You and I both know that the agents, there's a lot of I still have a lot of potential energy and a little kinetic energy,
Yeah.
but it's coming, and it is the right strategy to, for us to be focusing on. How do we get the quick wins? Things like you mentioned, interview scheduling. It's just an obvious place to start, an obvious win, and then one by one, being sure we find the right problems to solve with the agentic structures that are there, and work in that moment until we've changed the way that this process runs. And there's going to be more chapters to be written, but it's the right structure where now we can have this connected system and the agentic workflows on top.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That is not just great to hear for Paradox and for Workday, but it also validates my whole market thesis. So I'm going to definitely take a victory lap on that one.
Let's go.
It's a platform shift, and it's not
Yeah,
that there won't be, the equivalent of point solutions, but they've got to be providing value that is leveraging the data that the platform's providing in a way that the platform isn't. And that's going to
that's right.
be a little harder to do. And it's creating hesitancy in the market, not for the platforms
Right.
necessarily, but it's while this takes shape, I'm seeing timing being really interesting. Like, your ICP from a Paradox perspective, tons of use cases, lots of success.
Yeah.
There's a high volume of transactions, a lot of spend, a lot of big path to ROI there. Where that's not
Yep.
as clear, I think the buyers are going to shift their attention to go to someplace else where it is more clear, because this
Right.
isn't about AI being relevant in one category. It's about it being relevant across the board. So we get to pick where we put our resources and effort, and the platforms are in a unique position to do that. So
I 100% agree, and I do think that there is a talent acquisition is a specialized business problem that requires specialized solutions. I think there is a market hypothesis that generalized agents should do this work. And I generally think that's an oversimplification of the work, where the water is deeper than people think.
right.
So, some foundational model company every 6 months will say, "Oh, we'll solve recruiting in 6 months," but they just don't understand the depth of the water.
Right.
And so I do think it is a specialized tool set with this specialized training and knowledge that will be here to solve the challenge one piece at a time.
It's great. I love that, the depth of the water. That's it's a great analogy. So I could keep going on this, but we're at time, and I want to make sure that I congratulate you again on this.
Oh, thanks.
And the whole team. It was there are certain announcements that come out where the whole market stops and pays attention, and the whole market's still doing that. So I'll be looking forward to watching where Paradox goes and where you take Workday recruiting. And they're very lucky to have you, Adam, in that seat at Paradox at Workday to help solve the bigger recruiting problem. And I think the whole market's going to be better off for it. So congrats to you.
Yeah,
and
thanks, George.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that a ton. We're really excited. Like, the culture is a great fit, and we're just excited to continue to do the work and to do what we love. And so I appreciate your support over the years and our friendship. And we're just excited to keep going, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, the best of luck to you, and thanks for being here. And thanks to everyone, wherever you're listening, on the Work Defined podcast network, or watching YouTube, or at WorkTech. And thanks for telling your story here, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, George. Thanks for having me.